Hi Adam, and welcome to this founder mentor interview where we are going to speak about public speaking, or which is like highly used within pitching in the startup world. Today we are going to speak about battling the fear of public speaking. But first of all, I would like you to introduce yourself, who you are, a bit about your background, and also your company Speakers Impact and what you do.
Yeah, sure. Well, thank you for having me. And yeah, my name is Adam Montandon. And you can tell by my voice, I'm from Britain originally, but I've been living and working here in Denmark for the past 10 or 12 years. And what I do is I love helping people that are creative, that are smart, that are intelligent, but they can't always get their story out there. And what I help them do is I help them with all aspects of public speaking, whether it's pitching, whether it's presenting, whether it's getting up on stage and talking to thousands of people, if it's giving big presentations. And what's great is I work behind the scenes with lots of different speakers. So if you've seen TED Talks online, I've worked behind the scenes on hundreds of different TED Talks. I've seen the TED Talks that make it and the ones that don't, which is really interesting as well. And I help all kinds of people if they've got something that's really important to communicate. For example, if it could be medical research or something new in business or something that's incredibly technical, maybe it's confusing and the average audience just doesn't understand it. What I'll do is I'll help people find a way to communicate complicated ideas clearly, and that's where speakersimpact.com was born. It's a place where people can come online and learn not just the cheesy tricks of public speaking, because everyone will say, oh, take a deep breath and you'll be fine, and that hardly ever works. Or if it was just taking a deep breath, then everybody would do it. So I like to be a lot more detailed and precise and find the right solution for everybody, and it's a whole ton of fun.
Yeah, and that was also how I got to know you. It was also in an event where I had to pitch myself, and you went up there also and presented your whole story and what you had been experiencing as a speaker yourself. And you were very welcoming, and your anecdote was so funny. So we definitely had to bring you in here. Yes. Can you maybe share a little bit more about your personal background with public speaking?
Yeah, sure. I can tell you that where it really got started was, well, now I'm an old man with a big grey beard, but it wasn't so long ago that I was creating my own startup with a group of friends out of university. So it was me and 3 young friends back in Britain making a really ridiculous, funny software company. And we were called Hardcore Monkey Crash because we thought that would be a good idea, a good name for a software company. So branding was not our strong point. And we had no money, we had nothing. All we had was a really interesting story. And I started to notice that nearly everybody is afraid of public speaking. Whether you're good or whether you're bad, it's terrifying. And I was so determined to get ahead. I was so determined to get my company's name out that I thought, if I could stand up on the stage just for 30 seconds and have people listen, what impact would that have on my business? And it started out that I didn't have to be the best public speaker in the world. I just had to be a little bit better than everybody else. And as soon as I learned that the difference is not going from 0 to Steve Jobs overnight. The difference is just being 1% better. Because if you're 1% better at a presentation, you get invited back the next time and the next time and the next time. And that really unlocked something special for my company, because then I was invited to schools and universities all around the world to speak and present. So I got to meet students before they would graduate. They would all listen to me, they would hear all about my company, then I'd get to hire them before they graduated. And so we were able to grow from 3 or 4 people in a tiny little office to 300 people in the space of 7 years. And it was all because I was able to get out there, find the best employees, find the best people, win the best awards, talk in the best way, because there are millions of people doing good work. There are millions of people with good startups, But because they're so afraid to talk about it, if you're not afraid, you eliminate 99% of that competition instantly, and the cost is zero. It costs nothing to open your mouth and speak. And so that's when I really understood the power of it. And then I dedicated my life to helping other people unlock that power inside them, because there's brilliant ideas everywhere. But what's the point of having that idea locked in your head when it could be in front of millions of people?
Exactly. So public speaking is not only about like being able to deliver your core value or what you do to someone in a specific, understandable way. It's also about like creating opportunities for yourself. You open up an opportunity space where you get invited because you are actually good at doing it, and you are one of the few, as you say, that can actually go out and talk passionate about what you do and inspire.
Exactly.
Others.
And it helps you in a lot of different ways as well, because think how many times you go to a networking meeting and you're just meeting somebody and shaking hands, and you have just 30 seconds to talk to them, and maybe you don't know very much about them, but you want to present yourself in a good way in 30 seconds. Excuse me. Present yourself in a good way in 30 seconds. Yeah. Or, of course, it can help when you're working within a company and you've got to present to the boss, or you're having these water cooler moments, or you're running new meetings, or you're training new employees, or you're even trying to inspire volunteers to join. If you've got no money to hire somebody, maybe you've got to inspire people to follow along with your vision. So it helps not just for standing on stage, but in every element of your business. And one of the things that not many people know is that if you look at, if you watch any TV channels or news channels, you'll notice that a lot of news channels will bring out the same experts time and time again.
Yes.
And so if you're a really good presenter and then you get onto that list, so let's say you're working for a technology company, and then every time there's a technology story, the news company in your local area calls you up and says, hey, do you want to be on TV talking about what's happening in the news this week? Then you're going to be receiving those calls literally almost every time a new technology story breaks, or if you're an environmental spokesperson and an environmental story breaks, or whatever it is. So you can be the publicity even when it's not your company that's creating that buzz. So if you really want to get out there, it's a great way of doing it.
It actually really is a core skill of a founder. It is at least it's something that is good to practice. Yeah. Because it can get you elsewhere and beyond in many different ways. But Adam, we need to address something, and that is the fear of public speaking, because a lot of how many startups kind of actually form and comes to life are as some sort of a specialized person, a passionate specialized person. It could, for example, be a really hardcore engineer, really passionate about product development and knowing a lot about the specs and features, but they want to get their idea, their invention out there, and then they suddenly kind of end up in this public speaking universe through all these pitch competitions and tracks they have to be a part of. But that is necessarily not like a natural thing for them, and actually it is something that a lot of people going into the startup environment, or maybe just self-employed environment, like really big fear of doing.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's definitely one of the most scary things that you can do, and I'm not going to lie. It's definitely scary. And when you see people on TV presenters who've been speaking and they're going live to the nation on Saturday night into millions of people's homes, they look so calm, they look so smooth, but inside they're terrified. Everybody is scared of public speaking, everybody. It's how you hide it and how you overcome it and how you show your bravery that's important. But actually, what a lot of people don't know is why they're afraid of public speaking.
Yeah.
Right? So when you think about it, there's lots of phobias that different people have, and they all seem pretty rational. Like some people are afraid of spiders.
Yeah.
And of course, spiders make sense because there are certain spiders that can kill you. So you should be afraid of spiders. And some people are afraid of snakes because some snakes can kill you. And some people are afraid of heights because heights can kill you. And so all of these things could potentially kill you. And then you think, but public speaking's not going to kill you. So why am I afraid? So it seems silly. But the reason why is actually not so long ago, if you were not so good at speaking, it could kill you. Probably not you, but if we go look into our past, if we find your great caveman and cavewoman ancestors, well, if they speak at the wrong time, it could be certain death. Imagine that you're out with a group of cavemen and cavewomen with your spear and you're hunting some animal and you've been hunting it for days and days. You have to be really quiet. If you say the wrong thing at the wrong time, you make a loud noise, the animal will run away and you're going to starve to death.
Yeah.
But also imagine that you're in your caveman, cavewoman village and you're telling somebody where the best berries are to go and pick, and you have to be really precise and accurate in your description, because if you tell the person the wrong berries to pick, they could end up poisoned or they could end up in danger, they could end up in trouble. So there's times when you have to be really accurate. And the weirdest thing for founders is that if you imagine in the caveman village, there's only one person who's able to speak without fear, and that's the leader of the village. Because when the leader says, I'm going to talk to the whole village, everybody else has to listen and they have to do what the leader says. And if you speak out against the leader, if you say, hey leader, no, I think you're wrong, well then the leader has the power to take away all of your resources. The leader says, oh, I don't like you, get out of the village, go away, and you'll be in real big trouble. So saying the wrong thing at the wrong time can kill you. And the weirdest thing we do in business is we replicate that exact same thing all the time.
Yes.
We even make TV shows about it. We have a Shark Tank and Dragon's Den or Lion's Den, where you're going up in front of a leader somehow and you're saying, hey, look at my business. And depending on how well you do, they will either say, oh yes, here is all of the resources, here is all the money, your life is complete now, or they will say, get out, you leave with nothing, you are a disgrace, I never want to hear from you again. And so of course it's terrifying. And oftentimes in business, the only times that we're speaking to other people are in this way, are in high stakes situations where we're going for investment, we're going for jobs, we're going for pitches, where you think, oh my God.
Partnerships.
Yeah. All that stuff. You have to just cross your fingers and hope. And that is terrifying, because what you're essentially doing is you're putting the life of your entire company into somebody else's hands, and you believe that it's what you say is going to have that effect. So of course you're going to be afraid. You would be stupid if you were not afraid.
Because you fear the outcome on the other side of the pitch. Like, my team rely on me. We have these few minutes of attention up there, and the goal of this pitch is to kind of land. Yeah, we have a goal with it, an investment, partnerships, allies in some way, customers, I don't know. But we really fear the outcome on the other side. If we fail that, at least personally, that is what I fear, and why my pulse is rising so badly right before I get up there. It's like all those fear scenarios of it not going well. I'm battling those. Yeah, in that very moment, right until I go on stage.
Yeah. And there's lots of things that you can do about it, which is really good. And the best thing that I think from an entrepreneurial perspective is to know that everybody else is just as afraid as you. So when you go to one of these, let's say you go to a pitching competition and there's 10 different teams and there can only be one winner. Well, just know that the other 9 teams are just as afraid as you. So if you put in just a little bit more work and just a little bit more effort than the other 9, you can eliminate them and you can win every time, because they will be too scared to put the effort in, and they'll be too scared to practice. They'll be too scared to do what it really takes to win. And I can share with you some of the things that it takes to win, because these are so important. And the best thing that you can do is, everybody will get scared before they present.
Yeah.
And there's lots of different ways that you can become more comfortable with your public speaking.
Yeah.
And my favorite thing to do is, I call it disaster baiting. It's really funny. Disaster baiting is where you look at everything that could possibly cause you a disaster, and then you figure out how to fix it.
Yeah.
So what I will do is I'll take a sheet of paper, or maybe lots of sheets of paper if I'm really preparing for disaster.
Yeah.
And on I'll draw a line down the middle of my sheet of paper.
Yeah.
And on the left-hand side, I'll write down everything that I'm worried about, whether it's rational or not.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll write, I'm going to forget my words. I'm worried about forgetting my words.
Yeah.
And maybe I'll put, I'm worried that my laptop will explode halfway through the presentation.
Yes.
Or I'm worried about this, I'm worried about that. All these kind of things. And even if it's something silly, I always worry about parking. Like, where am I going to park before I get to the venue? I have like massive car park anxiety for some reason. All sorts of stuff. And then on the other side, I write what I'm going to do about it. So if I'm worried that I'm going to forget my words, well, I'll write down everything that I'm going to say, I'll print it out, and I'll put it in my back pocket, so that if I all of a sudden forget and I'm like, at least I know I can reach into my pocket and read it. If I'm worried that my laptop's going to explode, well, I'm going to go out and buy a new laptop and put a backup copy on it, so I'm walking in the room with 2 laptops. If I'm worried that something's going to happen, I'll take my PowerPoint and put it on another memory card and give it to somebody else, and whatever it might be. If I'm worried about parking, I'll go to Google Maps and I'll figure it out. I'll look on the satellite view, I'll NASA the hell out of it, and I'll find exactly what it is. It doesn't matter what you're worried about, and as long as you're prepared for it. Because I've seen people say, oh, I'm so afraid to even drink a cup of coffee in case I pour my cup of coffee down my nice white shirt, and then I've got to go and present. Well, if that's what you're worried about, bring a spare white shirt just in case, so that you can throw as much coffee down you as you like. You're ready for it. And the truth is, your laptop's not going to explode, and you're not going to throw coffee down your shirt, and you're not going to have problems with the parking. But just by going through them, you're creating a strategy that's going to make you just that little bit more prepared, so that there's less and less and less to worry about, because you've got backup plan after backup plan after backup plan.
You try to kind of de-risk your situation, because I'm personally really a person like fearing all these different scenarios, and I have a ton of them, and that's just like who I am as an entrepreneur. I'm thinking about scenarios all the time, and especially the ones that I fear and the bad outcomes of things. So I'm also de-risking in my everyday life. So it makes so great sense to just like take that into de-risking your pitch nervousness in that way. Can I ask you something?
Yeah, of course.
Because I have like this specific thing that I experience where if I'm going to pitch or present for a crowd where I don't know the crowd, I feel much more calm and relaxed, and I feel quite fine about it. If I go into a room with a lot of people that I know in advance, and I know them personally very well, I get 5 times as nervous as in the other scenario, and I have absolutely no idea why.
Well, that's really interesting, and it's good that you identify that. What is it that you think makes a difference between presenting in front of the people that you know versus complete strangers?
Because the strangers, they don't know me, so I'm a fresh sheet of paper for them. So they just like they listen, and then they form my identity or the picture of me. And when it's people that I know, people who know me well, they may also, they know my, like the personal side of me, and they know me on a daily basis, and they know my passions and my vision and what I'm telling them on a daily life. Yeah, it's a little difficult to explain, but they already kind of have a perception of me, and I fear that I will kind of shatter that whole image, maybe. Yeah.
That's absolutely brilliant that you say that, because this is a very real thing that happens to a lot of people. And of course, when you're in front of strangers, they don't really know you. So you can almost invent your personality when you're on the stage, and you want to show them the best bits. But if there's people who know you, of course it can be really, really awkward. And in fact, it can be even more awkward watching yourself back if you video record it. There are a lot of actors who won't watch the movies that they're in because they don't want to see themselves, because they know who they are, and yet they're seeing this other sort of character. And realistically, what's happening is when we're presenting on stage, we're only presenting for a short amount of time, maybe 5 minutes or half an hour, or at most 1 or 2 hours. And there's no way that an audience can get to know you as a person in such a short space of time, because you're a very deep, complicated person. You've got good things and bad things. You've got things that you're strong with, things that you're weak with. Sometimes you're funny, sometimes you're lazy, sometimes you're silly, sometimes you're happy, sometimes you're sad, and you're a complicated person. But when we're on stage, we only have a few minutes to show the best bits. So we might come across as, say, really happy and positive, like, woo, look at my company, isn't it great, isn't it amazing? But the people in the audience will probably have seen you crying, going, oh, I hate my company, it's all going wrong. And where you feel nervous is because you feel almost like an imposter, like...
yeah, it's the imposter syndrome,
Exactly, because if I come across being really happy, but they know that sometimes I've been sad, they're going to call me out. And we feel a little awkward because we're playing these different characters. And it happens to actors all the time, when there are actors and then you meet a Hollywood actor in the street, and you're surprised that actor is nothing like they are when they're in the movies, because they very rarely are the person that they're presenting to be. So when it comes to something like that, it's important for you to mentally acknowledge that what you're showing on stage is a character, and that you're going to sort of be acting. And so they're not really looking at you, they're looking at a stage version of you. And that stage version could be very, very, very different persona. And so it can be, that's where that fear comes from. It's this disconnect between who you really are and who you're showing. Now, the best way to get around this is, there's a brilliant book by a guy called Stephen Covey called 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It's really useful. And one of the habits in there, I think it's habit number 2. I think it's from a chapter called Begin with the End in Mind. We'll have to link to it or something in the description. And what it is it's an exercise that takes a little while to go through. But you can start to figure out all of your values of who you really are as a person. And then you want to make sure that those values come across on stage. So you want to know what you really stand for, because oftentimes the truth is, we will sometimes be tempted to change our values as founders to fit in to whatever the event is. So if we're pitching for most sustainable company, and we're only a medium sustainable company, you might get up there and say, sustainability is so important, it's the #1 thing. But like last week, you just said the profit was the #1 important thing. And then the week before that, you were speaking to human resources and you said the people were the #1 thing. And so we don't always know what is our #1 thing.
And that chameleon.
Exactly.
Effect.
So what you want to do is you want to be super consistent with who you are. And a great game that people can play, and you can try it now, is there's a game called I am X but not Y. I am this but not that. So we can say I am funny but not a clown. I am intelligent but not arrogant. I am profit driven but not a megalomaniac. So you can start to say what qualities you have, but to what limits those qualities are. And once you're quite comfortable with those things, and if they're based on who you are in the real world and based on who you are when you're showing it on TV or on stage, it will become harmonized. And over time, you will be less like that, because then you'll be able to say, when you're stood up on stage, you'll be able to say to everybody in the audience, you know me, you know I like this, but I don't like that. You know I do this, but I don't do that. And they will all agree with you, and then you can take those values into your performance. So you don't want to pretend to be somebody else. It takes a little bit of work, but it's really fun once you get it.
So your own self-development, getting to know yourself, your core values, just like as a founder, just working with you as a individual. It can also affect out on your pitching skills, and you're able to be good at presenting and public speaking to others, because if you are aligned with who you are and you're grounded in who you are, you can be kind of you can be manifest that for yourself, and then you can deal with going out there and entering into that persona.
Yes.
When you're public speaking, and maybe not feel so odd or weird about it, or imposter kind of.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because we have this wonderful phrase that we use a lot when we're starting out. We say, fake it till you make it. Act like you're the big guy, and then you'll become the big guy. Yeah. And whilst normally that's wonderful for your mind and for your imagination, it's really bad for your authenticity. Yes. And so many people say, oh, I'm an introvert and I'm really shy. But when I look at all of my favorite public speakers, they're all comedians, and they're all really fun, and they're big and loud and joking. So I will run onto the stage and tell some big loud jokes, but on the inside I'm an introvert, and it just looks really awkward. It feels really awkward. So if you're an introvert, be an introvert. If you're shy, be shy. If you're afraid, if you're quiet, don't pretend to be somebody else. Bring your own personality in, and don't try to be like, there's so many people who would say, oh, I want to talk just like Steve Jobs. And it's like, the only reason why you should talk like Steve Jobs is if you're introducing a new iPhone. If you're not, there's no other way. We've heard Steve Jobs, we want to hear from you, because you're the person who makes the difference. We're going to be doing business with you. I often liken it to karaoke. If you've ever been to karaoke and you see somebody singing their best Beyonce, you never stop and go, oh, wow, that's Beyonce. You say, oh, no, it's not. It's my drunken friend Samantha. You never say that. And so if you're faking it till you make it, it's the same as doing karaoke. You look like a karaoke singer when you're up.
Yeah. Be true to yourself. And I don't know, maybe it's the final note on this one. So thank you so much, Adam, for these wonderful and concrete advice, and something that you could actually do right away, and just like giving us this perspective on why you can stand up there and feel that way in this universe, and a lot of things that you pointed out. It's just it means a lot to, I think, a lot of founders, because it's all about living the lifestyle as a founder. Actually, a lot of it. Go fake it till you make it. No, be true to yourself, and don't compromise your own morality too much. It can also drag some kind of negative consequences into it. So thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you.